So anyway, this, how do you pull up the recording later? Somebody just asked that, I saw it. It's going to be if you go to futurereadyiowa.gov and the child care grants web page, so that's where all the child care grant information is. It will be posted on that web page with the slides. And my best guess is about 24 hours. Sometimes it takes a little time to get it up there, but it will be posted on that page with the slides. And that is where we will also post the questions and answers. So we'll do our best to answer now, but then we'll have that Word document. We'll get everything answered and get it posted on that website as well. So that's your go-to resource for the information. The other thing I do want to mention is Victor is our finance guru for our grants, and he is not able to be, sure, I can repeat it. He's not able to be with us. And so finance questions that need to go to him, we're going to keep as we do the Word document, and he'll answer those next week when he's back, and we will post those on the website too. So the general website is, if you just search Future Ready Iowa, it's www.futurereadyiowa.gov. And then one of the boxes there is child care grants. If you click on that, you're going to get to the page that has all the information that we're talking about on it. Thank you, Ryan. She put it in there. So, so we've got done our welcome and introductions. Again, our goal is just to do general information and get to some questions and answers. Everything that is in this slide presentation is in the notice of funding opportunity. And that is on that webpage that we just talked about, if you haven't seen it yet. The full notice is on there, and many appendixes and resources, which we'll go through as well, are available to you now. And then what we're going to do is get time to have Dawn share a few examples of projects that are happening in Iowa that they're aware of with the Iowa Women's Foundation, to try and help maybe brainstorm or get the thoughts going about what type of projects might you start working on. Many of you are probably already working on these, but how can you think creatively and innovatively to get and put together applications for this opportunity? So that's our plan. Go ahead, Ryan. I'm going to switch us. Okay, so we've done this. Please put your questions in the chat. Here's the general grant purpose. We want to encourage and enable businesses and employer consortiums to build on-site childcare centers or partner with local and regional childcare servicers to increase new slots available for an employer's employees. So very specific. And really one of the things that we want to do is engage employers in the child care work, in the system, in the solution. So that's the purpose. There is an infrastructure grant piece and an increased slots piece to this application, and you can apply for one of those. We'll get much more into that. So go ahead and switch us. Okay, that's the grant purpose. One of the things that I want to note about the grant purpose is that you cannot apply for this. The intent is that it's new slots. It's not at the expense of existing or available slots in a local area. So we do not want to replace. It's not here we have additional funds and we're going to replace a slot. It's new and additional. And really to also just to connect this together, this grant program advances one of the top recommendations of the Child Care Task Force to incentivize additional businesses sorry, my chat's coming up, in the work of child care. So go ahead and switch, Ryan. Okay, really important. I know you got some good questions coming in, and we will get to those hopefully. And if not, we'll get them answered. The application timelines, just to make sure everybody is on the same page with this. Right now, all the application material is available on that website that I mentioned. So you can get the notice of funding, you can get the grant guidance, you can look at the scoring rubric, you can look at the attachments, everything is there. The applications will open in iowagrants.gov on June 17th. And then that application period closes on July 18th. So it's approximately 30 days to actually complete the application But now we have all the information available so you can get to working on your partnerships and your plans. I do want to note that the application closes at 11:59 a.m. Some of our grants in the past have closed at 11:59 p.m. This is a change, but we want to get a.m. because that gives us time to problem solve with people before the grant closes if anybody's having trouble. So just note on that. So 11:59 a.m. on July 18th. So here's the, during the pre-application period time, this is what we're strongly encouraging you to create partnerships and work on project plans prior to that application opening. You know, one of the things consistently that we hear and know is that people want more time to apply, more time to figure things out. And this is a way that we're doing it, is you have this time now to see everything that is available and start working on those partnerships or strengthening them, making a plan and getting ready for when that application opens so that then you have time to get the application in. Ryan, do you want to add about some resources here?
Yep, absolutely. So, you know, one thing that we want to make sure people understand, especially those businesses that may not understand the childcare landscape and where to go when looking for this information. There are 3 links below. And then of course, we've got Dawn on the call as well, that is going to provide some information about the Women's Foundation. But Early Childhood Iowa, that's a state level infrastructure. We've got 38 local area boards that are doing all things early childhood and are highly invested in the childcare system. Iowa Child Care Resource and Referral. We've got 5 regions. They work with our licensed child care centers and our registered child development homes, both of who you could potentially be partnering with in your community. And then that last link is just a provider search. If you want to go to your county or your city or community and put in some parameters, you can identify who are the licensed and registered facilities that currently exist in my community. And that way you can start connecting and building some partnerships that way as too.
Perfect, thank you. And on our slide later, we have the Iowa Women's Foundation website as well, and Don will be able to share some of the many resources that they have. I'm not going to read through these, but I just wanted to make you aware that there are definitions in the notice of funding opportunity that help you understand the different terms, the deserts, the consortium, a group of 2 or more employers or businesses. And I think I saw a question pop up. Yes, we would love employers to partner together in consortiums and work to submit an application. So, and so that information is there for you to refer to. So I'm going to go ahead and next slide. Just want to make sure you know it's there. Eligible applicants include businesses and consortiums of employers in good standing with the state of Iowa. All applicants must be employers not in the primary business of providing child care services. So again, this is to engage and provide opportunities for employers and businesses to be part of the solution and meeting the needs that we have. Obviously, employees depend on child care to get there. So you're strongly encouraged to cultivate partnerships to work on these activities and outcomes. Okay, Ryan. Okay, so now we're going to get into some general priorities. And I've seen a couple times, is a school considered a business? So I want to go ahead and bring that up now. Brooke, I kind of want to bring that to you. My initial thought is yes, but I'm totally I'm making that up because a school is certainly an employer, and sometimes in some locations it's the main employer in the area. Brooke, do you have any thoughts on as far as being eligible?
Yep. So I would think that, yes, the school, and I can do a little bit more research and get back up positive, but my inclination kind of first blush at this would be that it meets the definition of employer as defined in the NOFO. So I would agree. But again, I can do a little bit more research and get back to you on a final answer for that.
Yep. So we'll include that on the questions and answers that we'll post. But yes, it looks pretty much like the answer is yes. But again, check that and we'll put it in writing on our website. So general priorities that have been set forth for this funding opportunity. projects that can demonstrate they meet a documented need of employers, employees, as evidenced by employee statement of need, surveys, or some other document like that. So that's a priority, is that the intent is to meet the need of employees at the businesses where they're working. So Dawn, can you hop on just for a second and talk about, I know you have resources on employees things. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have them, and so does CCR&R. So if anybody is looking for surveys to use to survey their employees to find out just what are those needs out there, don't recreate one. Reach out and we'll get one to you that you can use for your employees to find out just exactly what their needs are.
Perfect. And that is such a great place to start some of this work, because that really helps you know what the situation is. Where do we reach out for the survey? It looks like Iowa Women's Foundation or Child Care Resource and Referral. Dawn, would you say that's correct? I just saw that pop up. You're on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks.
I know I give our website, but let me just share with you. It's an easy one. It's iawf.org. So
great. So you can go look now.
So, yeah.
Great. And I also want to say, I see a lot of great questions coming in. So thank you. And some of these are, you know, it's like your specific situation. Many, you know, everything is different everywhere. So we will definitely get to those questions answered and up as soon as possible. So thank you. Projects that have not received previous child care challenge or investing in Iowa child care grant funding. This really isn't going to be a huge issue, because the requirement for an application is for it to be an employer, not in the business of childcare. These grants have primarily gone to childcare centers and development homes. And so this isn't like a red flag, oh, we can't. It's but we just want to put out that is something that's going to be looked at. But our hope is that you partner with businesses. The business is then the applicant to increase the slots or increase the space to meet the needs of employees. So so that's where that goes.
Yep. And to clarify too, that does not mean you cannot partner with a childcare facility that did get the grant. It's just
Correct.
That the primary business applicant cannot have been in receipt of the challenge fund or investing in Iowa's childcare. Where we might see that would be like a school district that has a before and after school program. And I think that those are going to be unique situations that we're going to look at how that grant was funded and how that application was received and stuff like that.
Perfect. Yes. Thank you. And then projects that put forth creative new strategies that demonstrate a direct link to addressing the local child care challenge by increasing the slots available. So I think that's a great opportunity to do these, because I'm seeing, you know, consortiums and all kinds of coming up. So definitely, I think those are things we want to see. And then just connecting it to those employers' needs. So just keep that in mind. And the number of new slots, that is also going to be, of course, a point and a priority, because we want to be able to provide as much as possible. Okay, go ahead and switch. Okay, some additional information in general. If the project involves partnering, you are going to have to provide evidence of that partnership. The employer, the applicant, is going to have to provide evidence of that partnership with a registered child development home or licensed child care center. And I think it's going to be in the form of the letter. We're going to try and put a template letter up there so you can have an example of what we need that will be part of the attachments for the application, because we have to know that partnership is viable and partners are committed. And that I just said that. And then prior to any funding, once awards are made, prior to any funding, there will need to be an agreement between the child care facility and the business, if this is what the application is proposing, provided to DHS. So, but that'll come later, but just to give you a heads up on that. All right, Ryan. Okay, so now we're going to get into a little more of the specifics. on this grant. So for the award, the grant, there are 2 opportunities and it's 1 application. So one application, and you fill out the same application no matter which grant opportunity you are applying for. There's a child care infrastructure grant or the increased child care slots grant. And again, I just want to highlight that you apply for only one. There will be on the grant application, there will be a box that you check, am I applying for this one or am I applying for this one? So we want to get all this information out. So in your partnerships and your projects, you can be talking about what do we want to do? What fits us best, or how do we want to proceed? So we wanted to give you this upfront information so you can figure that out. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Can we go slower on the slides? Sure. Sorry, I talk fast and I know it. And so my apologies. So I definitely will try to go a little slower, but also know that they will be posted on the website. Okay, so they'll be available to you with all the links and everything. So for the infrastructure, okay, just mentioned there are 2, 1 applications, one application, 2 grant opportunities. Infrastructure, I'm going to talk about that grant opportunity first. The priorities that go along, everything I've said until then has been general to the grant, no matter which one. So this is building of on-site employer child care centers or company partnerships with existing child care centers to expand their facilities. Okay, so that's the infrastructure piece we're looking at. So what part of the priorities for what that'll be looked at on these applications is this application located in an Iowa child care desert? There is a map we're going to show you. There's a link on all the materials to the map, so you can indicate is our project in that or not. So so that's part of what will be looked at along with all the other criteria. Is this project, does it target a community that is engaged with Iowa Economic Development and or the Iowa Women's Foundation? So Economic Development has been working, and I don't know if you call it a partnership or whatever, with Iowa Women's Foundation. And so that is one of the things that will be looked at as well, in addition to all the criteria, is this a community that has been working with these organizations? Dawn, do you want to take a second and talk about that new position, or you're on? Yep.
Absolutely. I'm hitting the button, but for some reason it doesn't want to unmute.
That's
so
okay.
I apologize. So we are really excited that the Iowa Women's Foundation and IEDA have entered into a 3-year partnership. We have just hired an employer engagement director. Her name is Sherry Penny. She was Economic Development Director in Mitchell County, and she brings business experience as well as childcare experience to the table. So what we've done is we've created a toolkit of possible investments a business can make in childcare. And we are now ready with staff to kind of help provide some technical assistance, one-on-one support to kind of move some of this work forward to actually see action and not just keep talking about it. So she just started on Monday, and we're going to be waiting for those calls for anybody that wants some
That's
help.
right. Yes, thanks. I highly recommend, and with the resources that Ryan pointed out in the earlier slide and the Iowa Women's Foundation, there are people out there to hit the ground running with you to help you figure all of this out. And there are other tools and things, so you don't have to recreate everything. So definitely, if you aren't engaged, you want to reach out and do this. So and I was lucky enough to go to, I was in Roland. I went to one of the meetings that the Iowa Women's Foundation hosted with all the community folks in Roland. And it's such a great, they do such a great job facilitating and helping you get in the right direction and with tools and everything. So I highly recommend communities who are just stepping into this or who maybe still need this type of support to reach out. So and so anyway, then back to the priorities for the infrastructure grant. projects demonstrating a well-developed recruitment and retention plan. This is really important because the money that we're able to do this with is that federal money coming in, and it's one-time money. Now, yes, we've had multiple grants come up because that money coming in, but this is not going to continue. And so we want to support projects that need that upfront or that boost, whether it's infrastructure or let's try this plan to see how to get this going and get it off the ground running. But we have got to see these plans for sustainability and recruitment and retention along with it. So definitely want to see that in the prioritized projects. And again, quickly, these things are coming up, but I think I saw something about you are not required to be in a childcare desert to apply for this grant at all. It's just, that's one of the things that will be looked at in the application process. But if you're not in a childcare desert, and that's apply, I encourage everybody to apply. So, okay, let's go ahead and switch next. And so here's a picture of the map. The gray areas are the childcare desert areas. And I know I saw somebody do a question about, can you see by zip code? Because it's hard to tell by the map. And so we'll see what we can do with that. I'm not sure, but we'll see what we can do and get it again on the website. But otherwise, I think you can look at this and take your best, effort at saying we're close to this, or here's where we're located in this corner where there is a childcare desert. So, let's go ahead. Okay, so again, we're on the infrastructure grant. Here are the details. I just went over the priorities. Sorry, I'm going to slow down a little bit again. Here are the more of the details. The amount available for the infrastructure grant is $20 million. That is what has been set aside for the infrastructure grant. So then how much can you apply for? Grant awards are going to vary, obviously. Oh, good. Thanks for sharing that, Dalton. Sorry, I'm getting too whatever distracted by these questions and this good comments. So anyway, grant awards will vary as determined by the scope of projects. 3 million cap is what you can apply for a new facility if a new facility is being created. A $1.5 million cap for expanding or renovating. So this is the infrastructure grant, 20 million available, 3 million cap for new, 1.5 for expanding or renovating. Project must be completed and grant funds spent by June 30th of 2026. So part of what we want you to do when you're planning is look at your timelines and see that you can meet these timelines. At least that's your expectation. We know a supply chain and everything that's going on, things have changed, but this is what we're looking at for the timeline with the funds that are available. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, so Kathy, I want to make sure that we bring this up because I do think we have a lot of childcare providers that are familiar with the IICC and the Challenge Fund and limitations around major renovation for the infrastructure type stuff. This is a different funding stream that does not have that limitation.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
yes.
So for childcare programs that are on the call, if you're thinking about reaching out to businesses in your community to have these conversations, be aware that major renovation is not off limits like it was in previous grant opportunities because it's a different federal funding stream.
Thank you. Perfect. All right, go ahead and switch us. Okay, this is the type of award is that it's a 50-50 cost sharing agreement. And you can see the fund that's referenced there. So these funds can be utilized to cover 50% of the proposed project costs. The remaining 50% will be funded by private / in-kind, and that's going to be part of and that will be part of the application process is what is identifying that in-kind or private dollars that are going to go up and be part of this project in 50-50 for that. The use of funds are for improvements to new construction of childcare facilities for employees, either as the provider or in partnership with a local childcare provider. So 50-50. So definitely you'll have some time to kind of figure out how that's going to work. And then I think you saw the amounts before. So let's go ahead and switch over. Slide.
Now
And-
I'm up.
Yep, you're up.
Okay, so the second funding opportunity is with DHS or CCDF ARP funds. And this is for subsidizing the cost of childcare for employees in partnership with licensed or registered providers. So there may be a business that is not wanting to open the doors of a new childcare facility or get in the business, but there are providers in the community that we can partner with by reserving a number of slots. Now, a couple points that I want to make is childcare centers are not the only ones that you can partner with, especially in smaller, more rural communities. There may not be a childcare center. Child development homes may be a better spot if you're looking particularly for families with non-traditional work hours, dual language learners, children with disabilities. If you're working with folks in a factory where it's a lot of second shift or third shift or early morning work, those child development homes may be a little bit more flexible in the hours of operation that they can help serve. So the other piece that we need to be clear about is that there still needs to be that net increase in slots. So we don't want to make this, we don't want you reserving slots at the expense of other families in the community and their ability to access childcare. So really what we would be looking for is some kind of confirmation from our childcare providers around that net increase in slots. I think I have another slide, but I'm going to say it now because I'm on the topic. Childcare facilities have a allowable maximum capacity and an operational capacity. So just because DHS says you can care for 75, a program may say, I only provide care for 50 for whatever reason. So if we can fill that gap, that 50 to 75, that can be considered an increase in slots because they're serving more than they used to serve as part of this project. So it's more of an attestation from the provider that you're partnering with that they are increasing their capacity that they typically serve. So we aren't necessarily going to see it as an increase like on their licensing certificate or registration certificate or something like that. So with this, there is a $250,000 cap that you can apply for. Expanding hours of service is also an eligible kind of increase in slots consideration. So if you can have a business that, or a childcare facility that will open for 5 additional hours in the evening, or they'll work Saturdays, or they'll provide overnight care, even if it's for 2 or 3 children, those are impacting the families, the employees that work for those businesses. So those would be eligible considerations as well. Now, our project period is substantially smaller because it's a different federal funding stream. So grant funds must be expended by September 20th, 2024. So as Kathy had previously mentioned, we really need to be thinking about the sustainability of the project. A lot of this, it might be a trial and error and kind of a pilot and seeing, does this work? But we're going to want to know when that funding runs out that there's a way to keep these projects alive. We do want to note that employers cannot use the funds to provide direct payments to employees, nor can the benefit of providing childcare slots be used to offset a reduction in income or other benefits. So we don't want to see a change in vacation time or family sick leave or something like that in relation to now getting this, nor do we just want a $500 stipend to go directly to an employee for childcare. It's more of a partnership. So this is also a 50-50 cost sharing agreement. So basically, you know, we'll get into the details of that kind of stuff when we are doing awards, but DHS would reimburse 50% of the total costs that the business puts up putting the children into a childcare program under this slots grant. So we would be subsidizing a partial amount of that slot. So as I mentioned, all projects must include an outcome for the creation of new childcare slots for employees. And that capacity, we mentioned that operational is different than maximum. So childcare providers will want to attest that through the partnership, they've got that net increase of slots to operational capacity. And I know that that's a little bit hard to maybe digest right now if you're not in the field of what we do. But I can assure you that the partners that we've identified, Dawn, Child Care Resource and Referral, those early childhood Iowa area boards, they are familiar with this concept and can help walk through some of that. And of course, Kathy and I are always available for questions as well. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. So I just wanted to show, this is one of the documents that's available. This is, and I think I think it can be helpful as you're partnering and trying to figure out what you're going to propose or what you're currently doing, or I think there are a lot of projects in the works. And so hopefully this timing is coming to where you can apply for this because you've already been working on it. But this is a project plan. It is going to be a required attachment for the application, but it's available on the website as well. But just wanted to show you kind of what that looks like, to be a mini kind of overview of what it is you're going to accomplish. And so utilize this as you're working through your projects. Because it will be part of the application. Okay, go ahead, and it's Appendix E on the website. And then this is from the scoring rubric. As we've already indicated, and I've seen, a lot in the chat, definitely, this doesn't answer all the questions to the challenges we have in childcare. This is a piece of a, complex picture, but all the applications must contain a plan for sustainability. So this just says what the scoring rubric shares, that you have to provide the steps to ensure sustainability, like what are you planning to do if your project is successful. Recruitment and retention is part of it. And then is how are you going to address that? And then describe the related experience that you have. And that's part of the capacity to be able to address the ability to successfully complete a project. So this is just some information on sustainability and knowing that this will be part of the application process. Okay, so basic information again. Where do I apply? You are going to apply online at iowagrants.gov. It's not open yet, okay? That iowagrants.gov link will open on, and I think it's June 17th. The date is earlier in our slides. This time, we're just trying to make these resources available to work with your planning and partnering and figuring things out. The grant will open then, that's where you'll apply. And then the due date, the grant application opportunity will close on July 18th at 11:59. And again, just referencing what resources are currently available to help with the discussions about these opportunities. All of these appendixes are on the website. So the grant guidance is basically going to show you, thank you. This is going to take you through exactly what is going to be included in the application. So if you're looking like, what do we have to include? The information that is on this is what's going to be asked for in the application. So that's how you can start preparing if this is something that you're going to apply for. Appendix B is general questions and answers, frequently asked questions. So that's already available. And as I said, we are going to take all the questions that come in here and we'll put answers, and that will be posted on the website as well. Appendix C is the scoring rubric. So you can see how many points and what is going to be looked at in each section of the grant. So, so this is really important for you to follow too when you're getting prepared to apply for the grant, because we need to see this information. Whoever's reviewing this has to see these informations. That's how the scoring works, these pieces of information that are asked for. So that's Appendix C available to you now. Appendix D is your directions for when the grant opens. If you're new to iowagrants.gov, this helps you know how to get in. You do have to register and into iowagrants.gov, but you could do that now actually, and it takes just a couple days. And if you think you're going to apply, I would encourage you to just go ahead and do that. So at least you get that piece out of the way. And then next slide, let's see. Okay, great. We're going to go on and I'm going to hand it over to Dawn to talk about some of the things that are examples and get your brainstorming going, and we can learn so much from it, you know, what people are already doing successfully. So Dawn, take it away.
Thanks, Kathy. So Kathy asked me to share with you examples in 2 different areas. And first, she wanted me to share with you examples of partnerships with employees that are currently supporting childcare businesses that are helping create slots. So let me just give you a couple of ideas of what's going on out there. So in Ottumwa, JBS and Swift Prepared Foods are partnering with the local Y. JBS and Swift are paying for and the construction costs to remodel or expand the center that will increase their number of slots. And for that financial commitment, JBS is going to receive 40 of the slots. Now, what's interesting about that is those slots will be at a discounted rate for their employees. But if that slot is not full, once the center is up and running in that expanded area, JBS will continue to pay for that slot. So they'll hold it for an employee that will be coming on. And that is really a good part about this contract, because what we're seeing is in a lot of places, they'll get the slots at the beginning, but then if there isn't an opening, they'll let it go to the community. And then all of a sudden, here comes an employee who needs a slot and there isn't one available. So they've agreed that they will pay for the slot as they move forward. In Black Hawk County, Cedar Valley Kids is in the middle of starting and building a child care center, and they are reaching out to local businesses with 2 different asks. The first ask is for the construction phase, and they're asking them to make an investment to help build the center to add more slots in the community. As a result of that investment, the businesses will get naming rights, they'll get initial slots, different things like that. But once they open, they are then asking businesses to make a commitment to the annual operations of that slot. So I think I saw a slide that said, well, how are we going to increase wages and pay staff? Well, if you can increase your revenue, the goal hopefully is then that you can increase your pay. We know we can't increase revenue off the fees we're charging our parents. So maybe we can create a partnership with our local businesses that will add revenue to your bottom line that you can then use to pay for staff. And what they'll do with that is that will then give them priority on the waiting list with what they pay going through. In Dyersville, I think this is really exciting. The owner of Scale Models and Diecast is looking to remodel an apartment building for in-home providers who want to provide care for his employees. We know that a number of in-home providers are having difficulty getting licensed because they're renting, and landlords do not want childcare businesses in their rental properties. So here you have a business that's willing to create through an apartment building and let them rent. And I thought that's a great kind of unique, different, out of the box way to look at it. One more in that area, and I know I was only supposed to give 3, Kathy, but I had a hard time picking which ones. In Creston, the Greater Regional Health Center in Creston is paying for the construction of a brand new center down there. They broke ground on November 3rd. The land was gifted by the Creston Community School District, and then the hospital is paying for it. The hospital, quite honestly, is not getting much in return to do this. So they voted to name the new center after in recognition of the hospital. So that's a really great thing. The next thing I was to do was to provide you with 3 examples of innovative ways that we see businesses and employer or businesses partnering with centers and in-home providers. And not necessarily to increase slots, but at least to have a partnership that I believe would increase slots if we looked at it that way. So the first one is in Clarion. In Clarion, the local community hospital or community center is being supported by different businesses in the area in different ways. For example, the hospital is the employer of the education director at the early learning center. So they're the employer and they're paying for that individual's salary. The school is sponsoring the educational lead teacher for 4 and 5-year-olds. And 2 other businesses have pledged 3 to 5 years, an annual donation of $10,000 to help cover the costs of the operations of that center. So you have businesses that are actually sponsoring staff or who are making, an annual contribution to help with those operating costs, which in turn will increase your revenue, which would then enable you to pay more to your staff. In Hamilton County, we know that they had a big issue with recruitment and retention, and the Early Childhood Iowa group there. It's an amazing project. I highly recommend you all talk to McKinley Bailey, and he's probably going to be turning over now that I mentioned his name, but I don't care. It's a really good program. He went to local businesses. The local businesses in his community have made a financial commitment or pledge over 3 to 5 years. They've raised over $500,000 through partnerships with businesses and others in the community. They created a fund that is housed at their community foundation, and those funds are being used for bonuses, recruitment and retention bonuses throughout the years to help subsidize that salary and to help really increase the starting pay. I think it says here they hope to go from $8.50 an hour to over $11 an hour. We know that still might be a little low, but it's much better than the $8.50, and it's the businesses in the community coming together with other partners to make this happen. In Vinton, the local hospital is interested in offering a stipend for their staff to help pay for childcare, which is something that Ryan just talked about, but we know that the money you just learned today can't go directly to the employee. There has to be a partnership with the hospital and a local center. The interesting thing about this one is the local center in their town only operates right now during the day. And what they'd like to do is go to the center and ask them to consider staying open and providing care for second, and they would help pay the staff salaries for those individuals that would be providing the care in those off hours, in addition to making sure that they could help with their employees. So I thought that was really cool. And the last one I want to share with you is the Hawkeye Community College in Waterloo and Exceptional Persons have a partnership. Hawkeye Community College built a child care center on the campus. They're in the business of educating people. They didn't see themselves in the business of providing child care. So they partnered with EPI, a local nonprofit in the area that does provide child care. So they provide the building, they provide the maintenance and the utilities, and then EPI comes in and manages the actual center itself and oversees the staffing and the programming and things like that. And in return, both the community college's students and staff, plus the EPI staff, have priority on the waiting list moving forward. So those are just some of the partnerships that are out there. And as I always say to everybody, there is no right or wrong way. We have to be creative and out of the box and look at address these issues. What will work in one community might work in another, but if it doesn't, let's look at what is being done and how can we tweak it so it can happen in your particular community too. So that's all I've got.
Awesome, Dawn. Those are fantastic. Thank you so much, because I really think sharing that, it just helps get everybody thinking about the many ways something like this can be proposed, and the many creative solutions that are already happening out there, and how can you maybe take a piece of one and a piece of another, because that's what's going to work in your area. And Dawn, I'm sorry if we're going to bombard you, but I'm hoping that so many people who maybe haven't had a connection with the Women's Foundation will reach out, because of the tools and the technical assistance and everything, and the examples that you guys know, along with, again, the other resources that Ryan shared, because to learn more about those, then that might help you as an organization and partners figure out what to do. You want to add
Kathy,
anything?
let me, yeah, I do. I just want to say, the Women's Foundation knows that we aren't the experts in this area, know that we can't do all this. We work with our partners. So I'm going to connect you. If I can't answer your question, I'm going to help figure out how to get that. So we're going to connect you to your local ECI boards. We're going to connect you to the CCR, and the DHS staff and people like that, and the businesses that are out there. So we're just kind of here as that connector, that convener, that, facilitator and supporter. There's other people out there who are the experts that will help us move it forward.
Yep, absolutely, Dawn, and I agree 110%. So lots of resources available. I think, Ryan, on the slides, I think maybe the only thing we had left was questions. And then I think we have Dawn's information on a slide. So again, those will be on the website. And then we have asked if you have general questions after this webinar that come up, if you could submit them through the Future Ready Iowa email, which is on that slide. It's FRI grants, so FRIGRANTS at IWD.ia.gov. Did I get that right, Karen? We'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, it's spelled out Iowa, but otherwise correct.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Can you put that in the chat for us?
Kathy,
Thank
I
you.
did want to bring a couple questions to attention. One was around the infrastructure. Is that for purchase of land and building a program, or can it only be used for like the physical building of the space?
I think, Brooke, I'm going to bring you in on this. I feel like we maybe had communication about this earlier too. I don't want to. I'm always cautious about what I say until I hear from legal, because what I think isn't always what's the right answer. But I think yes, they can purchase land for the location. But do you want to jump in?
I can look into it and get back.
Okay, yeah, I think we have done that with our childcare challenge grants. That's been people have been able to purchase land and or building or that type of thing. So I feel fairly confident in that, but we'll post it for in writing answer on the website.
Yep. And there's one other area that I wanted to address. There's a lot of comments around staffing needs, recognizing that staffing is a huge issue. We have heard this across the various different funding opportunities that we have put out there. So while this funding is not specific to paying the wages of staff, as we're talking about recruitment and retention and sustainability, those are things that businesses and any kinds of partners are going to have to be talking about, because we know that staffing is an issue. And we know that businesses have historically started coming to the table and saying, we don't have employees because they can't find childcare. So this is an opportunity, as Kathy had mentioned earlier, for businesses to become part of that conversation and part of the solution. Because what we know is we don't have an unlimited federal or state funding stream to pay more. We have a federal minimum wage, we have a state minimum wage, and we don't have the influx of cash to pay everybody at a living wage. What we do have right now is opportunities to engage additional partners. We've done the stabilization grants for a large number of providers. We've done recruitment and retention bonuses. We had 18 months of stipends and co-pay reimbursements. So there's a lot of different activities that are taking place to try to make the childcare infrastructure in Iowa more stable. But we also know that this is a national issue. So Iowa's doing everything we can and coming up with multiple ideas to do the best that we can and do right by our families and our communities. But just know that we have the same concerns that you all do. Unfortunately, we can't solve all of them alone. We need partners and we need investment and engagement between businesses and communities and providers and state agencies and our partner community agencies and our nonprofits. Everybody needs to come together as a village to make this work. So I just wanted to put that out there and acknowledge the concerns that people are having about staffing, because it's real and we get it and we don't disagree. We can't do it. We can't fix it all, unfortunately.
Yes, thank you, Ryan. Really critical information there. So I think now we have about 3 minutes. So we'll quickly breeze through and see if there are some other questions we can answer. And then again, what I would say is, please give us, with a holiday weekend and, you know, we have people on vacation, give us until sometime next week to get all the whole list of these questions and answers up and posted to the website. I put in again the Future Ready Iowa email, and that you click on the childcare grant box to get to the page that has all of this. As far as pulling up the recording later, it'll be on that webpage and you just click on it. There'll be a webinar recording. So you just click on that. And once it's posted, again, give us about 24 hours to get it up there. Same with, you'll see a link to all the additional questions and answers. And so that should be all there. And then on and many of you already have our emails. Ryan and I, and I will be one of your primary contacts for the infrastructure grant. Ryan is your primary contact for the increased childcare slots grant. From there, if you send questions, we usually go to finance, or we'll go to legal, or we'll go to wherever we need to go to get answers, because your questions are great and there are different situations everywhere. So use that. And so hopefully, yep, the webinar is recorded and that I shared where it will be. Let's see, I'm going to go. Are still school districts eligible to apply? I think we said yes. School districts are employers, they're businesses, they employ. I think what I would refer you to is the definition in the notice of funding, and it was also on the slides about what defines an employer. So I don't see any reason that can't happen. Let's see, can you discuss?
Kathy,
Yes.
real quick, I did see in the comments, several people have asked about if they are a child care center, if that's their business, can they apply? And the answer is no.
No. Yeah, no.
Just to stress that.
Yeah, in the notice of funding, it's very clear that it's employers, and the definition is there, not in the primary business of providing childcare. So the applicants are employers according to the definition, not in the primary business of providing childcare. And again, this is linked to the work of the task force to try and provide incentives to get business in even more involved. You heard some great examples from Dawn about how they're already stepping up and getting involved and working together. But this is to get those partnerships created or support those partnerships and continue to grow them. So yeah, it's not in the primary service of childcare. I see, can you discuss if a site or employer location is not identified in a desert, how will the priority occur? That's a good question. It doesn't have, I'd have to look at the scoring rubric. I think that the way that happens is we would probably set aside, applications that are in deserts and look at how many we have, score them, and it also depends. So much of it depends on how much money, which we estimate what we have, but sometimes that changes in how many applications we get. But so I don't think it's points. I think it would probably be, and Ryan, jump in here. I think it would probably be putting them, all the ones that are in the desert, we would have to confirm that, but put them in a stack and then review those in comparison to the others, but join in on that.
Yes, I want to throw out a little bit more around the definition of a desert. So we
Yeah.
do have that very overarching, this is how a childcare desert is defined. On the flip
Mhm.
side, we recognize that there are certain communities, certain populations that have a specific need that they may not look like on a map, they're a desert, but when you're working, when you have factories that work second and third shift and you have one childcare center that's open 6 to 6, you may have a desert in relation to the need of that community. And so when we're looking at applications, we're going to be taking into account some of those unique circumstances for those families as well.
Yep. Yeah, perfect point. Perfect point. And I would also say it's hard because there's not a black and white answer, because if we had an application in the desert, I'm just going to speak from that scored really low because there was no plan, there was no nothing, then it's not going to get prioritized just because it's in one of those areas on the map if they don't have a plan or anything in there. So I don't know, that's probably helpful or not. Okay, I know we're out of time. Are grants awarded on a first come first served basis? No. This is the application period is open for the 30 days, then the grants will be scored and then awards will be determined. So it's not a first come first serve. You just got to get it in by 11:59 a.m. on July 18th. So we're going to cut it off there in respect of everybody's time. And again, appreciate all of your questions, everything that you've shared and your interest in this. And reach out to us and we'll look forward to working with you. Any last comments anybody wants to share before we sign off here? Nope, doesn't look like it. Okay. So
Kathy, real
yeah.
quick,
Yes.
one more time, if you could just list the website for the people who are going to need to see the slides or the recording of the video or the Q&A that we haven't gotten to yet. One more time, please.
Sure. The easiest way to me to get to it is to just go to www.futurereadyiowa. So just all one, futurereadyiowa.gov. And then when that page comes up, you're going to look and you're going to see boxes of different topics and childcare grants. Pick childcare grants and you're going to click and you're going to go to the page where everything that we've talked about and where we'll post all the new and additional information. It'll be on that page. So search or Future Ready Iowa, futurereadyiowa.gov, click on childcare grants, and then that's where your information will be. All right. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Yep. Thanks, Ben. Thanks, everybody.